All right. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining us tonight. Um, I'm really excited to introduce my friend Erin to all of you in a little bit. Um, but I really felt, and she's going to read us a poem, which I usually have the honor of doing that, but Erin's got a poem for us. But I thought that considering what is happening in the world right now, and what's escalating, I thought we might take a moment to breathe together and to do a little bit of a meditation and ground us through the meditation. So if everybody would get yourself comfortable and close your eyes, and we're going to take a few breaths. Take a deep, deep breath through your nose and feel your abdomen rising. And then exhale through your mouth, letting go of tension you feel in your back, maybe in your arms. I always feel tension in my neck, right where my neck connects to my back. Letting go of all of that. Breathe in again, in through your nose, and then out your mouth. And then do that for a third time, one more time. Okay, so I'm going to ask you to visualize um, that tonight, while we're here on this call, that there's a breakthrough for peace. And then imagine where you would go to be with your people. Would you go somewhere where you feel completely safe and relaxed, like a beach or a forest or a room, bedroom maybe, or living room of a friend to celebrate, and where you would feel completely safe and relaxed, knowing that there had been a breakthrough? So imagine that place. Think of all the details, like the colors and any textures that you know and can imagine. If there are any sounds, people laughing, children, birds, any sounds that you might hear in that place. And think about who might be with you, their face, the tenor of their voice. Imagine giving them a hug and celebrating together, singing together. Just try to immerse yourself into the sensations of being together, knowing that peace is here and possible and alive in the world. Now connect with the emotions that you might be feeling. What emotions would come to you in this moment? What emotions are coming to you in this moment here? Feel the emotions fully. Feel them in your body. Where do the emotions sit in your body? Are they rising and falling with your chest, with your breath? Keep breathing, feeling those emotions. Now take 2 more breaths in through your nose, out through your mouth. In through your nose, out through your mouth. And then come back to us, bring your attention back to the call and back to the present moment, and wiggle your fingers and toes and notice what's alive for you. All right. I would love to welcome person I've known for some years, maybe, I don't know, 7 or 8 years, maybe even 10 years now, Erin Rabke. Um, she's a somatic educator with Embodiment Matters, and she makes her home in Salt Lake City with her family. And she's many things, like, um, I mean, I know her mostly as an educator doing these really amazing courses and teaching with people online and in person. I've never had the pleasure of being in one of her classes in person, but she's also a dancer and a yoga therapist and a nurse. And she's studied with Joanna Macy and Dina Metzger. She studied deep ecology, systems thinking, and several different mindfulness practices, which I think encapsulates a really interesting human being. Like, she's looked at the work um, that of the peace economy in from um, a lot of different angles, and I think she brings a really important wisdom. And I would love for her to take over the call. I'm going to put some more about her in the chat. Um, and it's a longer explanation of her background, her bio. But please welcome her to the meeting.
Thank you so much, Marie. Thank you, everyone, for being here. I'm so delighted to be with you all. And I just want to take a moment. I saw Moji, I don't know if I'm saying your name right, but I saw your comment in the chat saying, I can't do this relaxation. I am from Iran. I just want to take a moment for us all to hold that, hold the situation, hold Moji. No force, of course, to do anything, I'm sure, here. But we're with you and with you in the heartbreak and the deep care for you and for Iran and for the world. I just want to take a moment with that. It's a lot. Wow, these times, they just keep escalating, don't they? So, how heartening to be invited to be with a group of like-hearted, wonderful people I've mostly never met before. That just is like soul food in itself to be able to be invited to be here with you. So, thanks for welcoming me. I also just want to say I'm a nursing school dropout. I didn't make it through nursing school. I discovered that Western medicine was going to kill my spirit. So, did a lot of that education, and then I opted into my own weird directions of being with the body and people in healing spaces. So just to be clear, that I'm not actually a nurse, and great respect for people who do that work. Um, I don't know if you usually do this, but I am going to put the poem I want to read. I had a different one. I have two poems. Maybe I'll close with the one I thought I was going to start with. Um, Oh yeah, all the peace, wishes for peace coming into the chat. It's beautiful. This is from Rosemary Watola Tromer and Marie, when you just took us in and just being with the gravity of this moment. This particular poem I love from Rosemary Watola Tromer came to mind, and I thought I would bring this to us. I'll bring my other one later. It's called More Love, More Love. And it begins with this quote from Rita Mae Brown. Sorrow is how we learn to love. And here's the poem. If sorrow is how we learn to love, then let us learn. Already enough sorrow's been sown for whole continents to erupt into astonishing tenderness. Let us learn. Let compassion grow rampant like sunflowers along the highway. Let each act of kindness replant itself into acres and acres of widespread devotion. Let us choose love as if our lives depend on it. The sorrow is great. Let us learn to love greater. Riotous love, expansive love, love so rooted, so common, we almost forget the world could look any other way. May it be so. And also, just got to say, praise the poets. I don't know how we would get through life without the poets. I think that is a gift of a poem. Oh, so yes, Marie, please.
I was just going to say thanks for that. That's a beautiful poem. I spent a lot of time looking for a poem today and opted for the meditation because I actually couldn't find one that pierced into what I was trying to, what I was feeling today. And so that's the perfect poem. I wish I'd found it. I'm so glad that you did. And I will send that poem out to everybody in the follow-up email. So.
Great. Yeah, Rosemary is wonderful. And there's a link in there to her website. If you don't know her, prolific poet who sends a poem out every day for years and years. My husband and I also got to interview her on our podcast, which you could find at Embodiment Matters. Just a beautiful conversation about poetry and grief and life, and it's very beautiful. So, the topic we chose, Marie and I, for me to speak about is about embodiment as activism. And let's see what comes of this together. I really appreciate that, Moji, what you put in the chat about, I can't do this relaxation for whatever reason. I always like to share that whatever I'm inviting, and I know this is the case with Marie too, it's invitational. It's not about force. And embodiment is not about trying to aspire to any particular state. It's really getting connected with the truth of our experience in the present moment and what's here. And I'd love to invite us to drop back in again if you're up for that. I like to not just talk about this, but give us some experiential invitations. So, one of my friends often says that increasing complexity requires deeper roots. So let's tune to our roots in embodied presence and in getting connected with the earth. So if you're up for that, this is invitational. I want to invite you to close your eyes and see if you could make yourself 10% more comfortable. Any shifts you want to make with your posture or your clothing or anything like that. And in tuning to embodiment as we begin, I want to invite us to imagine in this little visualization and practice we'll do that we could pour presence like a healing nectar through our own bodies. And this isn't about trying to fix or change what's here, but really to become a space of welcoming for life. So if you start by bringing some attention to the crown of your head, you can imagine a just right temperature, maybe even your favorite color or colors, like a liquid, a healing liquid, a nectar of your presence that you could pour over your scalp and also through your skull, through your brain, just pouring presence through those eyes, the space behind your nose, between your ears, your whole face, your mouth and jaw, and pouring presence through your neck and throat. Well, let's continue pouring through those shoulders. Just let your shoulders be saturated with the gift of your own presence. And through your upper arms and elbows, your forearms and wrists, your hands, and each finger and thumb. Let's just linger for a moment, feeling the sensations in your hands, fingers, thumbs, that pulse of circulation, the temperature, whatever your hands might be in contact with. The one thumb takes up more space in the sensory motor cortex in the brain than a leg and foot. It's amazing, isn't it? The sensitivity in these hands can really bring us to presence. And let's continue from the shoulders to pour through your torso. You can sense your shoulder blades, your thoracic spine, your ribs, your chest, and that whole world inside your ribs, heart and lungs. Just take a moment to really saturate this part of yourself with your own presence, welcoming the kind of knowing and perception in your heart, in your lungs. And let's continue through your abdomen, your lower back, and welcoming that perception, that way of knowing in your guts, deep inside your pelvis, and continuing through your hips and thighs, your knees, your lower legs, your ankles, your feet, and just sensing each toe. You might even wiggle your toes a little bit to feel them. Let's do one more kind of rinse from the top down, just pouring presence a little quicker this time from your head down, just welcoming whatever's here in your body. And this time, when you get down to your feet, let's keep pouring down through whatever you're sitting or standing on, through the floor if you're indoors. Keep going down through the foundation of the building you're in if you're indoors, till you connect with the living earth. And let's root deeply, really deep, pouring our presence down into your particular place on this living earth. And you can root as deep and wide into your place as feels nourishing to you. And let's take a moment to send through those roots gratitude, appreciation, awe toward this great mother underfoot. Just inhabiting our felt belonging. There's a line from poet Joy Harjo I treasure. She says, "Let the earth stabilize your post-colonial insecure jitters." Let's see if we can just sort of drink that stabilization up through our roots. Remembering we belong. We are home on this precious planet. And as we're dropped in and rooted here, let's also tune to breathing and sense this shifting attention between this infinite inner world and this infinite outer world as we breathe. And feeling this breath as our exchange with the green world. We're Inhaling their offerings, we can send our out breath with a blessing toward that green world. And let's take a moment with our eyes closed to just sense around you, maybe nearby trees or plants, maybe nearby water bodies, maybe nearby landmarks, just getting the sense of these lives around us, humans, the more than humans who we're entwined with. And then again, sensing this earth in vast space and the long, deep time story of the earth we get to be a part of for a little while. And with all that context, let's bring some attention again into the chest, into the belly, the place you kind of notice your feelings, your throat. Let's just check in with how is it in there right now? How is it in there? And let's endeavor to be a welcoming space for whatever's present. And if you like, you might put a hand on your chest, excuse me, and just bring this friendly sentiment of, I care about what's happening for you. We're not trying to suppress or fix or rise above or get rid of or anything like that. Just, oh, hey in there. I care about what's happening for you. Make that in for a few breaths. And feeling your weight, giving your weight really generously over to gravity so you can open to receive that unconditional support of the earth holding us in this moment. And if you have any extra to give today, let's just radiate down into those roots. We care about what's happening for you, to the earth, and also, to all Earth's creations, which is the world. We care about what's happening for you. And if we want to get really radical, we could offer, you don't have to be different to receive my care. Even the parts of us that want it to be different, and of course we do, they're welcome to. And then if you're up for it, if you have any extra to give, even with your eyes closed, we could offer to each other on the screen, to the people who will be watching this recording. Hey, over there, we care about what's happening for you. And when you're ready, you could let your eyes open. We can just beam some of that to each other through our eyes. Care about what's happening for you. Wishing you well. So simple, so radical that we can do this with each other, create spaces where we can be together in the spirit. One of the quotes that Marie and I brought to talk about tonight is Mary Oliver's beautiful teaching. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. So in this moment, hopefully we're feeling some of that as we drop in again and again and slow down to kind of be able to welcome the pace of the body, which is a lot slower than our thinking. I want to invite you to ask this question. I'm also a Feldenkrais practitioner. When I'm teaching those movement lessons, I ask this question again and again and again. I think it's a really potent training. How could I make this less effortful and more pleasurable? I mean, you might even notice that how you're orienting your posture, orienting to the screen. This question to me awakens that soft animal intelligence in the body. When we're bending over to pick something up or when we're engaging in a task, how could I make that less effortful and more pleasurable? That's inherent to us when we're babies. Babies don't do stuff that hurts. They don't overwork. We naturally have this kind of biological intelligence that's oriented into this organic improvement. Less effortful, more pleasurable. We evolve like that. For most of us, it's that impulse is trained out of us in our education that becomes very head oriented and disembodied. But just asking, how could I make this less effortful and more pleasurable can awaken that intelligence. And I want to bring another Mary Oliver quote that's one of my favorites, where I think it's maybe the poem called Sunflowers, where she states so simply, my work is loving the world. I find that so moving that she knew that and inhabited that. And since Mary is not here anymore, I'm often compelled to say, okay, who's ready to take up that task and say, my work is loving the world, even as it's burning, even as it is right now. The wonderful late great writer Barry Lopez said something that really struck me in his last book, which is called Embrace Fearlessly the Burning World. He says, evidence of the failure to love is everywhere around us. And so many of the crises we can see from, oh gosh, the war impulse, environmental degradation, racism, on and on and on, could be considered a failure to love. So I love returning to this, letting the soft animal of our bodies love what we love. And I think quite naturally, from, before it's conditioned out of us, loving the world. I just got to spend some time with my 3-year-old nephew. Oh, he loves the world. He's just lit with this brightness, and we can blow on the embers of that quality in ourselves. Um, so I'd like to invite us once again, you can have your eyes open or closed for this, but just to take a moment to feel again your own body weight. Most people in modern culture who I'm around spend a lot of effort and time holding ourselves up and holding ourselves separately, pulling ourselves up, and feeling our weight and giving our weight over to the pull of gravity is a profound practice of reconnection. Thich Nhat Hanh said, I find this really profound too, that the cream of his practice, his lifetime of practice, was I'm home. I have arrived. That's embodiment practice to me very much. And I think it's so potent that that teaching comes from someone who was a refugee for most of his life. And he was so at home in his body and on the earth that he helped other people to feel at home in his presence. So let's see if we can just giving our weight, a little less holding up, a little more, oh, I can give over to that pull of gravity so we can discover there is this unconditional support right there under us. No matter how many decades we've gone without noticing or appreciating that, we're held. And that can be a doorway to this embodiment as interbeing, which is really important to me. A lot of teachings around the body and embodiment can reinforce our separate self healing. And it can be really isolating, and feeling our bodies as inevitably in relationship with gravity and the support of the earth, our breath as relationship with the green world can, as my friend Francis Weller says, stitch us, add a stitch to the tattered cloak of belonging to really feel, okay, I am of this earth. Or as, do you know John Seed, wonderful activist? I can't remember what award he received. He's an Australian man who's done a lot with defending rainforests and wildlands all over the planet. He's a friend of Joanna Macy's, who helped develop the deep ecology work that reconnects. And he said, someone was asking him about defending the rainforest, and he said, I'm not defending the rainforest. I am the rainforest defending itself. Like that shift in identity to me is really important to embodiment practice. Embodiment as earthling reconnection. Um, I feel like this is really a culture making shift that we need to keep shedding those too tight skins of hyper individualism and softening back into interbeing and the wild, beautiful mess of that interconnection. So, yeah, I'd like to do a little resource growing practice, but before I move into this, I just want to see Marie or anyone else if you want to say or ask anything. How's this resonating with you? Embodiment practice inevitably slows us down a little bit, maybe more than
I
other
think
things.
that I think
But
that that last bit, the understanding, like the deep understanding that we're the earth defending itself, is actually such a really beautiful rooted place from which to do activism that
mhm,
that instead of, I mean, we're pushing back against, we're trying to build peace economies in this space, but we're also pushing back against injustice. But it's the earth that's working through us, and the
mhm.
earth is trying to heal itself, right? And I think that that's such a beautiful place to work from. I just wanted to speak that out. So, yeah.
I think so too. Yeah, thank you
Anyone
for
else?
When you spoke about gravity, that was really meaningful to me because I feel like when I've heard gravity spoken about, it's been as you age, gravity brings everything down, and you get more wrinkled, and you get more, and 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 you're thinking, I've got to fight against this, but as we were doing that activity where we were growing roots into the earth, and then speaking about gravity, it felt wonderful. Like it's not, gravity is not what it's made out to be. It it's holding us, and I love that idea.
I love that too. You know, my 3-year-old nephew is older than this stage, but I'm sure you've been around babies and you see when they just do this, they're kind of bouncing, and like that gravity and that sense of pressure, pre-verbal in our bodies, is one of the primary ways we sense I'm here, I'm here, I'm here. And then we spin out into anxious thought and get so disconnected from that. It's a really profound doorway. I humorously, my husband and I teach together, and we sometimes will say, you can be saved by your butt, to just in the middle of a anxious stress or worry about the state of the world is happening. Here's the image I sometimes use, this little pyramid. If we have that connection with the ground and we got our roots into the earth, or as Joy Harges says, letting the earth stabilize our post-colonial jitters, when I have that, I can be with my anxiety and my worry and my distress with ground and kindness. Here's the upside down pyramid, which is really common. When I have a lot going on up here, minimal connection in my body, especially the lower body, and next to no connection with the ground, we can feel about this stable. Well, it's all up here. So this is not about suppressing any of that experience, but just giving us again that, oh, I'm here, to hold our distress about the times and our deep care with that embodied earth connection. Oh, changes everything, you know? Again, that's that slipping out of the too tight skin of hyper individualism and returning to connection. I want to hear from more people, but before I forget, I want to share in the body of work known as the work that reconnects in the US, experiential deep ecology in Australia and elsewhere. There's a practice known as the 5 vows. There are vows you can take not as, vows you break, but really as a stance we can take in our approach to the world. And I'm reminded in this conversation of the third vow, which has really been working on me for many years. And the third vow says, I vow to draw strength and guidance from the living earth, from the ancestors and the future beings, and from our siblings of all species. And it blows my mind because it doesn't say, when I'm stressed out, maybe occasionally I could remember to tap into the earth or the ancestors or the future ones or our siblings of all species, whose lives all depend on human beings, reorienting how we're living on planet Earth. But a vow to live in that relationship of drawing strength. And just to give context to it, the earlier vows are about dedicating ourselves to the healing of the world. So this is not just an extractive practice of just drawing strength. It's like, in the interest, to use the language here, of growing a peace economy, to really tap in. And to me, I'm always interested in grounding that in a felt experience in the body to, whoa, there's the living earth. And when I soften my grip and feel my weight, I'm connected again. I can feel that relationship. I think that's so beautiful. It gets me excited. Anybody else want to make a comment? Yeah, Valerie.
So, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So I wanted to read this, and it says interconnectedness signifies the fundamental principle that all things in the universe are interdependent and influence one another. This concept, deeply rooted in Buddhist philosophy, emphasizes that individuals are not isolated entities, but are intrinsically woven into a vast web of relationships with all life and the environment. So I am a practicing Buddhist. And so this has been for 40 years. So this has been part of my philosophy as long as I've been practicing. And the thing that I've noticed now in these times is the loss of human dignity towards one another and the power that they grab for. And it says that the three evil paths are greed, anger, and foolishness. And we see it running rapidly right now in the world. So as long as we keep that thought that we're all interconnected, no matter where we come from, no matter what you do in society, that we're connected to one another as living beings and with the environment. Even if you throw down a piece of trash, you're disrespecting the environment. So those are the kind of things that we have to be mindful of as human beings, because we're supposed to be the superior species, but we're not showing that right now. So that's what I wanted to share.
Thank you for bringing that. That's so beautiful, Valerie. So important. Yeah. Dee, I saw you were unmuted. Do you want to come in?
Okay. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Hi. Hi. I went through major surgeries and I was always in pain and I had to deal with that. I had to come to a different part of myself. And I would be up all night and I would put on Animal Planet and I would connect with the animals and just, I believe I was connecting with God or source to get me through such a my body was in pain, so I had to get to a different level and understanding and get through that. And that's what I feel like I've right now with a lot of things that are going on. You get to a point where you're in pain and you can't deal with like seeing children being bombed and killed, and you have to get yourself to another level of understanding. So maybe we could do something on. I reached a level that I can't even believe that I really connected with source in a way that I knew that made me a better person today, even though I went through hell. So even though we're all going through hell with seeing everything, maybe we will reach that. We will get to that point where we can. Now I'm a lot better. I can deal with a lot of things, and a lot of things happen, but it takes time. And that was my experience with my body. I was a massage therapist. I also did energy healing. So I was very in tune with that. But when it come to pain, it was hard to deal with. And now our hearts are in pain with not being able to stop what's going on. And but we're trying to make solutions. And I think that's making us find our way, I guess.
Mm-hmm. It's beautiful. Thank you. What a fierce and powerful
Sure.
team. Yeah.
It's a reminder that when we're in pain, and the world is on fire right now and we're all in pain, that I mean, what I've seen in my life is that when you're in pain, like you're not only the prism of how you view the world changes, but your personality changes, like things become smaller. Um, and just getting through the next moment, getting through the next day, getting through, just getting through, that everything becomes compressed in a way. And because right now so much is in pain, there's so much pain, and I think all of us are carrying a lot of feeling a lot of that pain, right? And trying to I mean, we carry it for our immediate lives, but the world is on fire and we're watching it happen everywhere in the world all at the same time. And that this practice of being rooted actually is the expansive part instead of the contracting part that we need to be our best selves in this time of cultural, extractive pain.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
the small separate self can't do it. We got to connect with that. The bigger the bigger sense of self. Yeah.
Yeah.
Karen,
That's it.
I see you're unmuted.
Right before this meeting, I had 3 meetings to go to at the same time today. One was about the forest sales that are part of the budget issue. And I quickly wrote again about this issue to my senators. But I did one thing, which was I reminded them what they know. Because we know these things. People can ignore what they know, or they can act on what they know for good. And I reminded them, because I very well know them, that they know we need these trees in as part of our state in Oregon, but as part of the global need for trees. And that may be some strategy that people can share with people that you choose to try to influence, is just to remind them what they know is the right thing to do in certain situations. You get in touch with it yourself, and you remind them that they're part of that knowing collective, and maybe can do something.
That's really beautiful orientation. You're reminding me, several years ago, we got to interview the Indigenous teacher and activist Sherry Mitchell for our podcast. And she was telling the story which was just mind blowing to me at the time, about a group of local people getting together and not hating on the politician who was doing massive harm in her area, but praying for this person to do the kind of remembering you're talking about, Karen, like praying for that reconnection. I was like, wow, that's a different flavor than a lot of other people I'm talking to right now, of reminding them of that inherent knowing and that reconnection. That brings tears. Yeah, thank you. Praying for their happiness. Yeah, praying for their remembrance of that interbeing we've been talking about. Yeah. I just want to check with you on timing, Marie. I have an inquiry I can send people off with. I have one more poem I could send people off with. Just want to see what timing is like for you.
Yeah, we should probably move into the breakouts in the next few minutes. People who have been in the space before know this, but I'm going to announce it for everybody that's new. We put you into breakouts with several other people, and there's no end to them. Nobody, we don't come back to this space. You just stay until the conversation feels complete for you, and then leave. A fox just walked right in front of me here in my yard. Sorry, that's very exciting. The sweet little fox. And so you just stay and have the conversation that you feel you want to have tonight, and then you leave. And then I leave the rooms open and I turn them off at like midnight. People stay that late. They stay like I'm on the East Coast, they'll stay an extra 3 hours. So no pressure. You don't have to stay for 3 hours, but that has happened. So that's what the breakouts are. And I think sending people off with a poem and a directive might be a great thing, Erin.
Yeah, thanks. Well, I'm really interested in what kind of got lit up around this interbeing and this remembering that reconnected self as like a source of sustainability for our activism, for our lives, remembering our earth connection, our connection with the ancestors, our obligations to the future ones who will be here after us, our connections with the fox and the other siblings of all species, and just wondering, like, what might it be like to live into that vow of being connected, drawing strength and wisdom and guidance from those areas? How might that support what you're up to in your corner of the world? I love that question. Does that work, Marie? And I have a poem I can bring to.
That's great. Yeah, no, that works, and that's perfect.
Okay.
Perfect way to end.
This is one of my favorites. I know I put it in the chat, though I know this poem by heart because my heart very much has needed this poem for many years. This is by the late great Stephen Levine. And to me, it also speaks to, I'll read it, I'll say something about it, and then I'll send you off. But it speaks to that evidence of the failure to love everywhere around us, we see, as Barry Lopez says. So this is called Mother of Us All. And you can think of Mother of Us All however you want, but of course I think of Mother of Us All by Kathleen. Nice to be with you. As Mother Earth. So here's the poem. Mother of us all, prays to free us from our image of perfection, to which so much suffering clings. When in the shadowy mind we imagine ourselves imperfectly, praying to be freed from gravity by enlightenment, she refines our prayers. Putting her arms around us, she bids us rest our head on her shoulder, whispering, "Don't you know, with all your fear and anger, all you are fit for is love." I love that refreshment of praying to be freed from gravity by enlightenment and pulling away. And if we think of this great mother, rest in connection with me and come back to that soft animal of your body, loving what it loves. My work is loving the world. And yeah, so I'm curious what might come in your conversations about the work of loving the world and perhaps how this connection with Earth, ancestors, future ones, the more than human world might really fund our sustainability in that work. That's what I got.
Thanks so much, Erin. You're sweet to come on. She was just traveling, so, and literally just like got back, and so she made space for us tonight, and I so much appreciate you always whenever I'm in presence with you. So thank you. All right, so I'm going to stop the recording and then we'll go to the breakouts.
All right. Thanks, everyone.